Space Cowboy Books presents Simultaneous Times, a science and speculative fiction podcast. Short stories to stir the imagination by contemporary authors.
Negation by K.C. Grifant, with music by Fog Machine, read by Jenna Hanchey.
The dog tags were erased. No. Rena dug her nails into the glowing green dirt of Alabran 35 and squeezed her eyes shut. When she opened them, the dog tags clutched in her other hand were still pristine and blank, even though she knew to whom they belonged. Padilla was gone, vanished, like she had never existed. Rena glared up at the octet of moons that rimmed the arc of gray-green sky, like a mismatched pearled necklace against a corpse's throat. "What did you do with her?" Rena said. "Why?" Nothing on Alabran 35 answered back, though the air was thick with the sounds of nocturnal hums and chirps in the vegetation. To her north, her research squad camped 3 miles away, winding up supper and assuming she and Padilla had gone off on their stroll like they usually did. Like they had every night since arriving, never suspecting the dangers they faced during the day would find them after sundown. Until tonight. Rena stood, blinking back her tears and putting the dog tags around her neck. Aranya Padilla, they should read, and she repeated the words in her mind, solidifying them as though she was etching letters into granite. As she strode up the hill, she ran over memories rapidly, recalling a new one with each step, willing them to stay. Padilla in the morning, blinking and disheveled. Padilla scrutinizing a new sample in the tiny makeshift lab they had erected on Alabran 35, pacing. But how had they met? Rena picked over her memories and found a sliver of panic when she couldn't remember details. Training, that was it. Padilla's confident but unassuming way of holding herself during the sessions on Earth had caught Rena's eye. "Damn time warps," Rena muttered. The proximity to the time negators sometimes messed with their memories. When the path grew nearly impassable, she unhooked her short machete to chop back at the vegetation that grew 100 times the normal rate of earth plants every night. She had to cut through to get to the path they usually only took during the day. Her team, probably all done with cleanup and unwinding with brew, would drag her back screaming if they knew where she was going. They would weigh the benefits and risks and undoubtedly decide Padilla was an accepted casualty. They could barely face the time negators during the day, with all 6 of them fully armed. She'd be toast on her own, but she had to try. Her team. Rena smiled thinking of them. 6 of the most talented people she had known, plucked from their respective units and sent an entire wormhole away from home to Alabran 35. For this, to study the time negators. And now Rena threatened to throw it all away. If the time negators were disturbed, they'd be after the entire squad. Best case, they'd all get infected with time sickness. Worst case, they'd be cast out from the stream of time, like a loose thread in a woven blanket. They had celebrated the mission's end last night, and their success at gathering information on the time negators. Though there had only been a projected 48% likelihood of them all returning intact, they had done it, set to return home tomorrow. But she couldn't go back without Padilla. They had plans: a penthouse in Ne Diego on Earth 22, a rooftop farm. Her footsteps grew faster, her slicing more frantic, as vaporous teal tendrils reached toward her helmet, trying to outgrow her chopping. She didn't need the helmet, technically, since the humid atmosphere was breathable, and the grafted nanofilter webbing in her throat and nasal passage halted any micro-invaders. But she hated the smells here. Hated how it almost felt like you were breathing a rancid, salt-soaked water without the helmet. Padilla had laughed at her, saying it was fresh, invigorating. Padilla loved everything about this weird planet. Her keen scientific perspective admiring even the time negators, despite the havoc they had wreaked. 20,000 souls erased, and that was only the ones they knew of. Nearing the rim of the hill, Rena brushed her gloved fingertips to her lips, a silent prayer for the crew of Herringer 231, who had run into a time negator in a routine relocation flight. Her department had painstakingly pierced together the clues, bits of inexplicable anomalous tracking data, memories here and there from the survivors' families, perplexed as to why they felt grief, and glimpses of what they couldn't explain, what they thought were dreams. Once Rena's team triangulated the data to the last spot of the flight, they saw the time wreckage floating through space and confirmed the horrible truth. A piece of a child's doll, a metal plate, a perfectly intact ceramic vase housing a withered biosphere plant, frozen in its perpetual decay for all time. The worst part was how the time negators didn't seem to care, didn't understand that humans shouldn't just be erased from existence. She hadn't been able to stop thinking about that stupid plant for weeks, and how the time negators didn't do their jobs perfectly. They still left some objects behind, warped. Blank dog tags, for example. It felt like she had been going through the small forest for hours, but finally Rena emerged from the vegetation to the colorless sky overhead. The moon's reflected light from Sol's Tau made her squint. Her gaze drifted up to a craggy rock where her eyes had a hard time focusing. The time negator's nests, or the closest approximation to a nest. The time negators, when you could glimpse them, looked like static incarnate, a pixelated smear on the display of reality. The team had captured one once, a tiny one, what looked a child's silver scribbles made live, raging in its quantum cube cage as they took readings. It lasted nearly a full minute before dissipating. Rena could see one now, hovering at the peak of the sparkling red algae-covered rock. Its nest, like a tangle of wires dipped in roiling lava, was in her sights. "Bastard!" she shouted and hoisted her gun. Akin to mini-particle colliders, the blasts disrupted space-time enough to stop the time negators in their tracks, The squad had no evidence the time negators could understand them, but she shouted anyway. "Bring Padilla back, or I'll send you to whatever hell you came from." The time negator rose with a buzzing whirl that sounded like a mechanical cicada. The entity's locomotion was confusing. It seemed to flow or scurry, sometimes midair, with a motion that looked like it was navigating a complex set of invisible slides. It zigzagged above the nest. Rena took aim when something caught the corner of her eye. She ducked and whirled in case it was an attack. A figure, perched on a nearby outcropping, looking down the cliff. Relief swelled through Rena before thorns of worry took over. It was Padilla, barely recognizable in shorts and a tank. No tactical gear, no weapon, no gloves and helmet. It had all been erased. Like someone was disassembling her, Rena thought while she hurried over. She pressed back her panic, letting her training take over, though her mind raced. If Padilla was in the very early stages of the time sickness, they might be able to get her in decontamination, get her off this godforsaken planet. Padilla, thank goodness. Rena's voice came terse, clipped, holding back her panic. We have to get you out of here, now. Padilla blinked in surprise. Protective cream along Padilla's skin that helped guard against fungi or mildew growth gave her a glowing sheen under the moonlight. Rena almost sagged in relief to see that Padilla's face was devoid of the telltale grayish sheen of time sickness. Martelli, is that you? Padilla tried to glimpse Rena through the reflective helmet. Rena, you're here. I told you I wasn't leaving. What do you mean you're not leaving? Rena asked. She glanced behind them to see the time negator had settled back into its nest, at least for now. Padilla gave her an odd look before sighing and gestured to the orange algae, the chrome-lit sky overhead. This world is beautiful. Look, listen, so full of life. And the time negators. We can learn so much, advance humanity to the next level. I can't leave it. I won't leave it. It's not cleared. Rena's mind swarmed. And what about their plans? They had talked about it so much already, had gone online and picked their 22nd century throwback furniture. Rena had pictured it so many times, so clearly, that it was already a reality waiting for them. But when she saw the stubborn tilt to Padilla's chin, those plans started dissolving as quickly as frost in this warm world. You aren't well, Rena announced. How else could Padilla be so off track from her so suddenly? You have the time sickness. I've got to take you back. I don't, Padilla said, sighing in the way she did when she had to deliver bad news. I'm sorry. You know I love you, but this is bigger than both of us. She gripped Rena's glove. Please try to understand. It's too dangerous on this godforsaken planet. You'll be erased. It's not dangerous if you know how to approach the negators. Padilla rolled her eyes in frustration. I don't want to rehash this again. What do you mean, again? Rena snapped. Her gaze fell to the chain peeking from along Padilla's neckline. She lifted it up to see the letters there, pressed into the metal clear as day, sending a cold jolt down her back. Aranya, Padilla. It didn't make sense. Rena's mind whirled, trying to get to the end of its conclusion as she looked at the other set of dog tags, blank as a slate, in her hand. What exactly did we talk about? And when? Yesterday, you were upset. Padilla's eyes cut to the side, uncomfortable. We fought. You said you wouldn't leave me here. You ran off, but I had no idea. Her forehead folded into a crisscross of worry. What did you do? Rena pressed her eyes shut. What did I do? What did you do? Why would you want to stay here and leave me? She took off her helmet, eliminating any barriers between her and Padilla's communication so Padilla would understand. Oh, Padilla cut off. Oh no, your eyes. Memories came back to Rena, sharp as tiny daggers. Padilla's voice shaky. I don't want to go back. Rena's own words, harsh. If only the time negators did get us, it'd be easier than this. Rena sank down. She didn't dare look at the blank dog tags hanging from her neck. She shivered. Tell me exactly what happened. Padilla's face took on a look of quick calculation, forcing her breath to steady. After we talked, you went north to cool off, you said. Maybe you ran into a nest, or did you ask them to erase us, our memories? Ice shot through Rena's gut. I wouldn't do that. Look at me. It's too late, Padilla said, and moved to touch Rena's face. Instead of a hand, Rena felt nothing, just a cool breeze, odd in this humid atmosphere. Padilla sobbed, choking out the next words. You're being erased. Your eyes are gray as the sky. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Rena thought of the flower she had seen somewhere, rotting in an endless cycle of time. She tried to hold on. In her hand, her blank steel tags shone. The ball chain curled in her palm. The necklace fell against the rock, looping itself like a symbol of infinity. Somewhere nearby, a woman wept.
So I Guess I'm Not an Actual Person Anymore, by Franco Amati, with music by Fog Machine, read by Jean-Paul Garnier. Three months ago, I had the last remaining piece of my parietal cortex replaced with carbon nanotube circuits. It was the last in a long line of procedures intended to make me a cybernetic organism, or something. This kind of thing isn't safe for the public. I had to volunteer for a complicated research study. Very few people have survived this many augmentations. As far as I know, I'm the only experimental subject who hasn't gone insane. I'm also kind of a bum, so they don't really care about what happens to me. Oh, and my girlfriend doesn't think I'm an actual person anymore, so she left. The other day I was in a bar with my only remaining friend, Lars. He asked me, "Hey Sam, in your dreams, are you real or a machine?" I had to think about it for a sec. "Real," I said. "In my dreams, I'm always real." If I'm dreaming, I have to be real, right? Someone once told me that humans dream so they could sort out all the garbage their conscious minds can't handle. Computers don't really need to do that. I wonder how many more dreams I have left. I feel strange. This isn't what I signed up for. I don't enjoy anything anymore. Sex, intimacy, none of it. I still like talking though. Conversation has always been my thing. But the physical stuff? No. I don't feel any of it. At least not like I used to. Life's not the same when your body doesn't want anything. When you lack desire, what's left? Lars was left. So Lars was drinking his beer. I don't drink anymore because, I don't thirst. I said, dude, stuff doesn't feel right, like on my skin. Colors are strange, smells are barely anything. I'm all kinds of messed up. He said, man, sometimes I feel that way too, but not like in a fake person kind of way. He took a chug and drained his cup. Then he ordered another and asked, why'd you even do that to yourself anyway? All that cyber surgery stuff seems like a whole ordeal. Here we go. The big question. I sat up and said, it's stupid, Lars. I did it so I could be young forever. It sounded so basic. To live forever. Just a regular Ponce de Leon. I dehusked a peanut and sort of left it there, uneaten. I know the day will come when I'll be incapable of choosing to end my own life. Think about it. What kind of computer voluntarily shuts itself down forever? There's no logic in self-termination. Only a flawed, highly self-aware, soft-serve brain is brave enough for that. I'll be alone forever. Anyway, so Lars was getting drunker and drunker. His awareness was slipping. I was losing him. I figured I'd better say what I needed to say before he passed out. I grabbed him by the shoulders and shook him a little. Listen, man, if we ever stop being friends, and it's been like years since you've heard from me, can you please hire someone to find me and blast away my cybernetic brain? I promise you won't get charged or anything. I don't even think killing a machine is murder. I just don't want to live in a world where there's no one left to really talk to, And I don't think I'll be able to end it myself. His response was, dude, are you sure you didn't drink anything tonight? In this episode of Simultaneous Times, you heard Negation by K.C. Grifant, with music by Fog Machine. And So I Guess I'm Not an Actual Person Anymore by Franco Amati, with music by Fog Machine. Theme music by Dane Lesko. Be sure to visit us at our bookstore in Joshua Tree, California, or visit us online at spacecowboybooks.com.